That's the one and only Stevie Nicks, whose songs have touched the lives of millions. She's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductee twice over.
It's no secret that Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham had a wild and complicated history, both as bandmates and as a couple. Their breakup brought drama, tension, and some of the band's most powerful songs. But not every song was something Stevie wanted to be part of. Sit back, and you will find out why Stevie Nicks refused to sing some Fleetwood Mac songs. Lindsey Buckingham always finds a pointed way to criticize Stevie Nicks. While Fleetwood Mac's meteoric success made them one of rock's most iconic bands, the interpersonal dynamics, particularly between Buckingham and Nicks, were famously combustible. Their romantic split in the late 1970s didn't just fracture their relationship, it laid the groundwork for decades of artistic rivalry, veiled barbs, and thinly disguised antagonism. Their tangled history eventually culminated in Buckingham's ousting from the group in 2018, but the signs of fracture had long been visible. Throughout their years together, neither Buckingham nor Nicks made much effort to hide their mutual grievances. Their creative tug-of-war often spilled into their music and interviews, making their strained relationship nearly as famous as their songs. A revealing example of this tension is the track Come from Fleetwood Mac's 2003 album Say You Will. Unlike the band's more familiar balance of shared vocal duties, this album leaned heavily on Buckingham's contributions, and Come was almost entirely his domain. But this dominance wasn't just a matter of artistic preference. The underlying reason Buckingham handled lead vocals on the track was straightforward. Stevie Nicks refused outright to lend her voice to it. Known for his relentless pursuit of musical experimentation, Buckingham has often positioned himself as the band's boundary pusher, someone eager to reinvent and disrupt conventions in the studio. He later remarked that while Nick expressed interest in the exploratory spirit of the Say You Will sessions, she shied away from fully embracing such departures from her established musical persona. Reflecting on their creative differences at the time of the album's release, Buckingham noted, "Stevie defines herself within a clear set of stylistic and thematic boundaries. Anything that strays too far from that framework doesn't feel genuine to her, nor to the fans who connect with her music. Still, she's always somewhat fascinated by the idea of stretching those limits, but she never wants to stray too far beyond them." Her particular discomfort with Come stemmed from what she perceived as its overtly sexual or suggestive lyrical content. Buckingham explained, "I asked her to sing on it, and she declined. I think she thought it was dirty." Although Nick has never publicly spelled out her precise objections, Buckingham didn't hesitate to speculate further, adding another small twist of the knife in the process. He elaborated, "That tells you something about someone who has been a rock icon for decades, but still, in some ways, carries a surprisingly conservative streak, and I don't think of her as someone who's lived a particularly conservative life." So, there's a fascinating contradiction there. It's characteristic of Buckingham to analyze and publicly dissect Nick's decisions, often framing them through his lens of creative risk-taking versus her caution. And while his remarks may veer into condescension, they do hint at a genuine creative divide that had long shaped their working relationship. The interplay of contrasts, Buckingham's avant-garde tendencies against Nick's more mystical and structured songwriting, defined much of Fleetwood Mac's internal chemistry and, ultimately, its tension. By the time Say You Will was nearing completion, these tensions were compounded by other significant shifts. Christine McVie, whose songwriting and soothing presence had long provided a counterbalance to Buckingham and Nicks's intensity, had left the band in 1998. Her absence left a noticeable void both musically and interpersonally, amplifying the volatility within the group. As a result, Say You Will not only marked a creative turning point, but also became Fleetwood Mac's final album of new, original material. In this context, it's perhaps not surprising that Come never secured a place in the band's live repertoire and was conspicuously absent from Fleetwood Mac's concert set lists. The song resurfaced only in Buckingham's solo performances, notably on his 2012 live album, One Man Show. While the song itself is hardly lacking in musical merit, with its intricate guitar work and charged energy, it failed to resonate with the rest of the band. Stevie Nicks' decision to sit it out provides a telling clue. When it came to navigating Fleetwood Mac's creative direction, Nicks often held more sway than many realized. Her refusal to participate in Come subtly underscored the power she wielded in shaping what the band presented to the world. The song Come is not just a small side note in Fleetwood Mac's history. It's a clear example of the long and complicated relationship between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham, two big and powerful names in rock music. Come shows how hard it could be for them to work together, even after all the years they had spent as bandmates and ex-lovers. Because of all this, Come doesn't just tell the story of one song. It helps explain why Fleetwood Mac's music sounds the way it does, and why the band's history is full of both amazing music and constant drama. To really understand what's happening here, we need to go all the way back to where it all began. It's important to look at how things first started. The relationship between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham is far more than a simple tale of romance and heartbreak. It is a sweeping saga of ambition, passion, creativity, and resilience that left an indelible mark on the landscape of popular music. Their intertwined lives produced not only a catalog of timeless songs, but also one of the most captivating and complex narratives in rock and roll history. Their bond, spanning decades of love, discord, and reluctant collaboration, stands as a testament to the tangled nature of human connection, particularly when art and emotion collide. In the late 1960s, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham's paths crossed at Menlo Atherton High School in Atherton, California. Although they weren't immediately romantically involved, an unspoken understanding simmered between them, an intuitive recognition of something shared and rare. Both were deeply drawn to music. Nicks had an affinity for poetic, mystical lyricism and folk-inspired melodies, while Buckingham possessed virtuosic guitar skills and a hunger for sonic innovation. That early meeting, innocent and fleeting as it was, planted the seeds of a partnership that later flourished in unexpected, profound ways. A few years later, Buckingham, seeking to strengthen his band, Fritz, invited Nicks to join as a vocalist. Together with their bandmates, they became a fixture on the San Francisco Bay Area's vibrant rock scene, opening for heavyweights like Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and Santana. It was during these formative years that their creative rapport deepened and their romantic relationship quietly blossomed. Fritz was more than a training ground where Nicks and Buckingham learned to navigate the intricacies of musical partnership, codependence, and artistic ambition. Their bond became inseparable. They weren't just bandmates or lovers, they were collaborators in the deepest sense, aligning their dreams and talents as they eyed bigger stages and broader horizons. After Fritz dissolved in the early 70s, Nicks and Buckingham made a bold leap to Los Angeles, determined to carve out a career as a duo. Their 1973 album Buckingham Nicks showcased their complementary strengths: her ethereal vocals and vivid storytelling, his intricate guitar work, and production savvy. Yet, despite flashes of brilliance, the album failed commercially, and the pair faced harsh realities: poverty, rejection, and mounting pressure. They lived together, sometimes scraping by on Nicks' waitressing jobs while Buckingham immersed himself in obsessive recording sessions. Their love was real, but so were the strains, financial instability, creative disagreements, and unspoken resentments that began to accumulate. Nicks would later reflect that during this time, she took on the caretaker role, working multiple jobs to support Buckingham's artistic vision, a sacrifice that, though made out of love, slowly eroded their emotional equilibrium. Their fortunes changed dramatically in 1975 when Mick Fleetwood, scouting for a new guitarist, encountered Buckingham. Buckingham agreed to join Fleetwood Mac on the condition that Nicks be brought in as well. With that, the classic lineup was formed, and the band rocketed to stardom. Yet success magnified everything, the cracks in Nick and Buckingham's relationship widened under the weight of relentless touring, substance abuse, and infidelities. By the time they were recording Rumors, their romantic relationship had definitively unraveled. They were no longer lovers, but estranged partners working side by side, pouring their heartbreak directly into their music, all while navigating other, crumbling relationships within the band. The songs from Rumors read like diary entries from a battlefield of emotions. Nick's Dreams was a wistful acceptance of moving on. Her unreleased at the time Silver Springs was a blistering declaration of unresolved pain and longing. Buckingham, in turn, fired back with Go Your Own Way, an unapologetic anthem laced with frustration and dismissal, and Secondhand News, which carried both irony and bitterness. The irony is inescapable. Their deepest pain became their greatest triumph. Rumors sold over 40 million copies, becoming one of the best-selling and most critically acclaimed albums of all time. The entire world listened as Nicks and Buckingham chronicled the disintegration of their love, raw, exposed, yet undeniably beautiful. Although their romance was over, Nick and Buckingham remained tethered by their professional bond within Fleetwood Mac. They would go on to create more music together for decades, often falling into cycles of confrontation and uneasy reconciliation. Their dynamic oscillated between deep-seated resentment and reluctant admiration. In interviews, Buckingham often critiqued Nick's artistic choices, while Nick admitted that working with him always carried emotional complexity. And yet, when they sang together, something undeniable still sparked. Their voices and energies, so entwined for so long, continued to produce a magnetic tension that fueled the band's longevity. According to Yahoo, their creative chemistry remained central to Fleetwood Mac's enduring success, even as personal wounds lingered under the surface. Their story didn't end quietly either. Buckingham's eventual firing from the band in 2018 reignited old wounds and rekindled public fascination with their fraught history. Yet, even amid acrimony, there seemed to be a lingering thread of unfinished business, a tacit acknowledgement that no one could quite understand them the way they understood each other. The relationship between Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham transcends simple labels like romance or breakup. It is a complex story of love, betrayal, ambition, and artistry, where two people who were, in many ways, muses for one another, even when they couldn't make their relationship last. Their music forged in both connection and conflict, and continues to resonate deeply with audiences because it is rooted in authentic, lived emotion. The songs born from their relationship are more than just hits. They are chapters in an epic narrative of human vulnerability and creative brilliance. And through it all, Nicks and Buckingham have come to represent not just the turbulence of love, but also the enduring power of art to capture life's most tangled emotions and transform them into something timeless. But what was the aftermath of their breakup, and how did it impact either of them? After Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham broke up as a couple, they didn't go their separate ways, like most people might have. Instead, they stayed together in Fleetwood Mac, the band that had made them both famous. This choice meant they had to spend years working closely together, even though their relationship had fallen apart. This situation made things hard, both for them and for the rest of the band. Their feelings about the breakup didn't just stay private, they came out in their music. Stevie wrote Dreams, which is one of Fleetwood Mac's most famous songs. In Dreams, she sang about moving on from a broken relationship, but her words were calm and thoughtful, not mean or angry. Lindsey, on the other hand, wrote Go Your Own Way. His song had a faster, sharper sound, and the lyrics were more bitter. He sang about feeling hurt and betrayed, and he even said things that made Stevie look like the one who had caused the breakup. Stevie later said that she didn't like how Go Your Own Way made her seem like the bad person, and it hurt her feelings every time she had to perform it with the band. Even though their relationship was clearly strained, Stevie and Lindsey kept working together for decades. They toured together, made more albums, and stood on stage next to each other hundreds of times. but you could often see that things between them were still tense. One well-known moment happened during a live show when Stevie sang Silver Springs. That song was also about their breakup. As she sang, she turned to Lindsey and stared at him with a strong, serious look that seemed full of years of pain and frustration. The video of that moment later spread widely online, and many fans thought it perfectly showed the deep, unspoken feelings between the two of them. Off stage, they sometimes made cutting remarks about each other in interviews. They would say things that made it clear they still didn't fully trust or understand each other, even though they shared a long and important history. Other members of the band sometimes found themselves caught in the middle, trying to keep the group together while Stevie and Lindsey's relationship continued to cause friction. The real end came in 2018. That year, Fleetwood Mac was being honored at the Music Hairs event. During that time, tensions between Stevie and Lindsey boiled over again. Soon after the event, the band announced that Lindsey was no longer part of Fleetwood Mac. Many people assumed Stevie had pushed him out, but she later explained that it wasn't just her decision. The other band members agreed it was time for him to go. Lindsey didn't take the news lightly. He sued the band, saying that his firing hurt his career and cost him money. The lawsuit was settled later that year, but the damage between Lindsey and the rest of the band, especially Stevie, seemed final. When Stevie talked about it later, she said she had no regrets about cutting ties with Lindsey. She explained that she had given him 300 million chances over the years to work things out, but nothing ever really changed. She was tired of the stress and felt it was healthier to move on. Still, she admitted that Lindsey would always be part of her story because of everything they had shared, both the good and the bad. Lindsey also admitted that what they had gone through had shaped him deeply. He said their relationship was still a work in progress, meaning it stayed with him, even though it was long over. Even though Stevie and Lindsey no longer perform together, their story still lives on through the songs they wrote. Those songs, full of love, pain, anger, and hope, are part of why Fleetwood Mac's music has touched so many people. Fans can hear the real emotions behind the words and the melodies, and that makes the music feel alive, even today. Their relationship, even though it ended, gave the world songs that will last forever. However, Lindsey and Steve's relationship strained other bandmates. Mick Fleetwood, John McVie, and Christine McVie were deeply affected by it too. They weren't just bystanders. They had to find ways to keep the band running while dealing with the constant ups and downs between Stevie and Lindsey. Mick Fleetwood, the drummer and co-founder of the band, often acted like the peacekeeper. He tried to calm things down and hold the group together whenever things got too heated. Mick was also very close to Stevie, and at one point they even had a short romantic relationship. This made things even more complicated, but Mick cared about the band deeply and didn't want to see it fall apart. Over the years, he has spoken openly about how exhausting it was to manage the band's drama while still making music and touring. He once said that Fleetwood Mac was like a crazy family full of love, but also full of fights. Christine McVie, the band's keyboardist and another key songwriter, had a different approach. She was calm, easygoing, and stayed out of most of the big arguments. She focused on the music and tried not to take sides. Christine has said in interviews that while the tension was obvious, she didn't let it distract her too much. Her steady presence helped balance out some of the chaos between Stevie and Lindsey. John McVie, the bassist, was quiet and kept to himself. He didn't get involved in the personal fights and preferred to focus on playing his part. Like Christine, who was once his wife, John tried to stay neutral and keep the music moving forward. And what about the fans? Many fans could see the tension on stage and in interviews, but they were also fascinated by it. The drama between Stevie and Lindsey added a raw, real emotion to the music that listeners could feel. Some fans even took sides, with some people supporting Stevie and others backing Lindsey. Their rocky relationship made the songs feel even more powerful because fans knew the words were coming from real heartbreak and real arguments. When Lindsey was fired from the band, fans were divided. Some were sad to see him go and felt it wouldn't be Fleetwood Mac without him. Others supported Stevie and the rest of the band's decision, believing it was finally time for peace. Through all of this, the music never lost its strength. In fact, for many people, the complicated relationships made the songs even more special. Fans respected how the band kept going, even with all the personal struggles behind the scenes. After Lindsey Buckingham was fired, the band also had to make some big changes. They decided to keep going without him, even though he had been such a big part of their sound and history. To fill the gap, they brought in 2 new musicians, Mike Campbell, the guitarist from Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers, and Neil Finn, the singer from Crowded House. Both Mike and Neil were very experienced and respected in the music world. They helped the band perform classic songs and brought their styles to the live shows, even though no one could fully replace Lindsey's unique guitar playing and voice. Many fans felt that the band still put on great performances with the new lineup. Fleetwood Mac went on a big world tour in 2018 and 2019, playing to huge crowds and showing that they could still draw in loyal fans, even after all the changes. Lindsey later said in interviews that even though he was disappointed, he wished his former bandmates well. He also continued working on solo music and performing on his own. In 2020, Christine McVie gave an interview where she admitted that the band probably wouldn't tour again with the full classic lineup. She said that everyone was getting older and the energy needed for big tours might not be there anymore. Sadly, in 2022, Christine McVie passed away after a short illness. Her death was a huge loss to the band and fans all over the world. Both Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham wrote heartfelt tributes to her, showing that even with all the past drama, there was still deep love and respect among them. Today, Fleetwood Mac's future is uncertain. Mick Fleetwood has said he is open to more projects, but without Christine, and with all the history between Stevie and Lindsey, a full reunion seems unlikely. Still, the music they made together lives on. Songs like Dreams, Go Your Own Way, and The Chain continue to inspire new generations of listeners. Even though their story is full of breakups, fights, and changes, what stands out most is that they always poured their real emotions into their songs. That's why people still care so much, because the music tells the true story of love, pain, forgiveness, and everything in between. With the whole drama and tension, was the Fleetwood band ever honored for the mark they left on the music world? Let's find out. Fleetwood Mac has been honored many times at the Grammy Awards, which shows how important and influential their music has been over the years. Let's take a closer look at some of the big moments when the band was either nominated or won awards. In 1978, Fleetwood Mac's album, Rumours, won the Album of the Year award. This was a huge deal because Rumours had become one of the most famous and best-selling albums in rock history. The album was full of powerful songs like Dreams, Go Your Own Way, and The Chain, many of which were inspired by the band's real-life breakups and personal struggles. The music connected with millions of people, and the Grammy win proved how much the album meant to fans and critics alike. That same year, the band was also nominated for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group, although they didn't win. Plus, the song Go Your Own Way got a nomination for Best Arrangement of Voices, which means the way the band sang and layered their vocals was recognized as something special and creative. Fast forward to 1998, when Fleetwood Mac made a big comeback with their live album, The Dance. This album brought the classic lineup back together. Stevie Nicks, Lindsey Buckingham, Christine McVie, Mick Fleetwood, and John McVie. The Dance was a huge success and reminded everyone how strong their music still was. That year, the album was nominated for Best Pop Vocal Album, but again, it didn't win. 3 songs from The Dance also got Grammy nominations. Silver Springs, a song written by Stevie Nicks that had once been left off Rumours, was nominated for Best Pop Performance by a Duo or Group. This song became very popular during their comeback. The Chain, another classic song, was nominated for Best Rock Performance by a Duo or Group. These nominations showed that even after many years, their music was still powerful and could compete with modern artists. Finally, in 2003, Fleetwood Mac's self-titled 1975 album, Fleetwood Mac, was given a Grammy Hall of Fame award. This special award is given to recordings that are at least 25 years old and are considered important and lasting works of art. This honor showed that Fleetwood Mac's music had truly stood the test of time and would always be remembered. These awards and nominations prove that Fleetwood Mac's music isn't just timeless, it's a lasting part of rock history that continues to inspire fans around the world. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also click the next video shown on your screen.